Welcome to the Hustle Wing podcast. Today we are joined by Jacob Bank, founder of Relay.app. Please do tell us more about this app because it sounds interesting. But before that, how are you doing? And thank you for joining us.
I'm doing well. It's nice to talk to you. I was just mentioning that the Blue Angels are flying over San Francisco right now for Fleet Week, so there may be some fighter jet noise in the background. But other than that, all good.
Thanks for that heads up. Yeah, let's get into it, man. Tell us more about Relay app, the work that you guys are doing. And maybe if you could start from when it began and what inspired that journey.
Sure. I'll start with the one-liner, which is Relay.app is a workflow automation platform that tries to automate your repetitive tasks. You can think of it as equivalent to Zapier or other workflow automation tools that you may be familiar with. So let's say, for example, when you get an invoice sent from a client, if you want to automatically upload the invoice into a specific folder in your Google Drive, you could use Relay to automate that. My personal background is that I've spent my whole career working on productivity and collaboration tools, especially those powered by AI. My first startup called Timeful was an AI-powered digital calendar. We got acquired by Google. I spent 6 years at Google where I led the product teams for Gmail and Google Calendar. And I've now been working on Relay for a bit over a year. And the reason we decided to start working on Relay was two observations that we made, both through our own work and through working on productivity tools. Number one, we all have to use a bunch of productivity tools to get our work done every day, and especially for side hustlers who may be working with many different companies, that even multiplies out further to many, many more tools. And it's hard to keep track of work that cuts across them. And the second is, this was a couple years ago, we knew that AI was going to play an important role in helping people manage their work and be more efficient, especially in this cross-tool context. So when we started the company, we tried to figure out a way, how can we combine the capabilities that AI can bring to extract data, summarize data, generate content with unique human judgment and oversight to help people save time in their automated workflows. We built a bunch of different experimental products along the way, but then landed on this idea of Relay as a workflow automation tool that makes it easy to combine AI and human judgment into these repeated tasks.
Hmm. As you talk about the product and the platform, I can't help but sort of be interested in how, or maybe your views in terms of how automation, has the potential of essentially changing workflow as we know it.
Yeah, the way I think about it is that each problem can be broken down into three layers. The first layer is things that should definitely be automated, things that computers are definitely better at than people. For example, waiting for a specific value to change in a database and then updating it in some other database. You don't want to be like refreshing HubSpot a million times. You want to be notified when something changes. Similarly, copying data from one system to another. Like, let's say, a mailing list setting updates in MailChimp, and you need to also write it back into Google Sheet. Computers are really good at those sorts of things, notifying us and copying data automatically. Let's try to automate as many of those as possible. Then there's a second class of tasks that AI is now capable of doing either completely or creating a pretty good rough draft. So for example, AI is pretty good at taking a PDF invoice and extracting the amount of the invoice and the company that sent the invoice. AI is pretty good at classifying an incoming email and deciding, is there a support issue in here or is there not a support issue in here? AI is pretty good at creating the first draft of an email that you're sending to someone who's a potential client to interest them in your services. My personal perspective is that even in that second layer, for most high stakes use cases, you are going to want some human oversight, especially initially as the AI is learning what's natural to you or to your domain. But that's the second level of capabilities, things that can be either done fully by AI or in most cases drafted by AI and then confirmed by a human. And then the third layer of tasks are things that I think still require unique human judgment. And that could be for a bunch of reasons. It could be because the person has some context that a computer couldn't possibly have from maybe from a real world interaction. It could be that the human needs to double check that the AI didn't hallucinate something or in general make a wrong classification because it didn't have enough data. Or also you might need the human to create a personal social connection, which is super valuable in many aspects of work life that may not, again, be able to be fully automated. And so when we look at a given use case in Relay, we try to figure out what are the things that can be fully automated, what are the things that can be assisted, and what are the areas where we still need human input and human judgment, and then try to help our users like strike that balance appropriately for a given use case. So it may be that for some cases they can be 90% automated or AI powered, and they just need a really lightweight human double check, like this use case I keep mentioning of like taking an invoice and putting it in a folder. That can be almost fully automated. But some cases might have a different blend where maybe 30% of it can be automated, like you can draft an email from a template and maybe partially update your CRM system, but there's still 70% of the work that requires human input to personalize the context based on a meeting you and I had in the real world, for example. And so I think it'll be role dependent, company dependent, and task dependent how much can be automated, assisted, or not. And then over time, as AI capabilities improve and we get more comfortable with these systems, more and more can be automated.
Hmm. You just gave us rather a much more nuanced, I suppose, perspective around how automation and just generally AI can be sort of incorporated into the workplace and into just different entities. I suppose your outlook and the tiers that you just gave us then almost challenge or maybe delay the idea that machines are replacing humans, because I mean, again, I'm really interested in is that a thing, and are we ever going to find ourselves where automation or AI machines would entirely replace human beings, or is it just that these platforms or tools are just there to maybe amplify the work that's done by humans and also just make it much more better in some instances? And I think your tiers give a nice sort of explanation in terms of how those can work together. I want us to stick there and maybe flesh it out some more. Are we going to be replaced at some point?
Um, no, I don't think so. The way I think about it is that each role or each job function in each company has some spectrum of tasks that could be considered busy work and tasks that could be considered kind of unique creative work or work that requires a unique social connection. And that different roles will draw that line in different places over time. And AI will be able to help us more and more, even for things that we previously might have considered creative work. Like, let's say you're a content marketer who writes blog posts. Um, I think even AI tools today can do a pretty good job of taking a bullet point outline of a blog post and creating a rough draft of it. I haven't yet seen examples of purely AI generated content with no human in the loop perform as well as a content marketer would want to. There's lots of AI generated, low and mid quality content out there, but for content marketing, for example, if you're trying to rank on Google in the top 5, it better be really, really good compared to the other things serving that query. So I think uh the kind of the debate that's like, will AI take all of our jobs or will AI take none of our jobs? Like, I don't think that's quite the right way to think about it. I think of it more on like a role and task specific basis, and that might affect different roles differently depending on the nature of the work. And so let's say, for example, if you do customer support work and 90% of the tickets you answer have one of the same 5 replies, probably a good chunk of that work can be taken by AI. But I think there will always be a need for customer support work that goes beyond those easily predictable answers and has a live interaction of what is the customer trying to do and why is it not quite working, and maybe there's a bug somewhere, or maybe there's some other thing that's not written in any documentation or has never been seen before that needs to be tailored to this customer. And so my hope is that for every job, more and more of the rote, the busy work can be replaced by work that's uniquely creative or uniquely social in nature. Now, maybe it means that a customer needs 5 customer support people instead of 8 customer support people, but then the company can use that unique human talent to solve some other problem for the company, which I'm sure, and I've already seen examples of many companies sort of like repurposing the people that they have with unique insights into their product, their business, or their customers. And as AI can take away some of the work, you can have people do higher value work, and it's better for everyone.
Mm. Yeah, I think again, I'll say I like that. I like that perspective because I think it's much more complex, and I think it sort of allows us to have a little bit much more, how do I put this? A much more imaginative way of incorporating or integrating machines or automation into our everyday lives or into our work culture or into entities and organizations. I'm going to change gears a little bit. I'm interested in finding out from you, as a person or a leader that is working in a space, as you've mentioned, that has a lot of moving parts and constantly changing and quite requires a lot of different skills. What kind of skills are you guys currently looking for? I mean, I ask because we do have a diverse network of site giggers who might be able to plug in and help, with some of those skills that you guys might be looking for at Relay.
Yeah, so right now our team's core expertise is in product design and engineering, building the workflow platform. We all have worked together on productivity tools in the past, most recently on Gmail and Google Calendar. So that's sort of like the core skill set of the team, and we're not looking to add additional people there. The areas that we're now starting to move into is because we cover such a wide variety of use cases for a wide variety of businesses and tools, we need to create a lot of content that helps people figure out how to use Relay. So, for example, let's say you're a marketer that needs to figure out how to kick off a campaign in Reply.io when one thing happens in Salesforce and another thing happens in Calendly. And if you're non-technical, it may not be obvious to you, even as easy as we try to make Relay to use, it may not be obvious how to set up the right trigger and the right actions. And so we want to create a lot of help materials, for lack of a better word, which could be visual how-to guides. They could be videos that are helping kind of our users scale across this wide variety of potential use cases they may want to automate. And so that's something that, right now we're producing our first few how-to guides ourselves. But that's something where, as we look ahead to the future of the company, we are probably, with our small team of 10, not going to be able to create thousands of how-to guides. And we'll need to tap into a larger network of contributors to do that. That's one. And then also back to the support case I mentioned, which is sort of the it's related to creating guides, which is because every company has a unique need, or maybe they have their Salesforce instance set up slightly differently, or maybe they have their Notion database set up slightly differently. We do need to do customer support and help people figure out in exactly their setup with exactly the automations they're trying to do, how to make it work. And that's another thing that will scale well to a broader community of Relay experts that can help people get unstuck when there's something quirky about their particular situation that they're trying to automate. And so I think this is our needs are similar to those of other kind of broad horizontal productivity tools that can be used by lots of different users in lots of different ways to help both figure out from people's expertise how Relay can be useful for them, and then figure out how to make that useful for other people who might use the same tools or have the same role.
Sure. Before I let you go, Jacob, just interested in finding out from you, looking ahead, what are some of the changes that we should be looking out for in terms of automation? And maybe you can also maybe speak to upcoming projects that you guys might be working on.
Yeah, funny you mention it. We're actually launching the first version of Relay right now ish, depending on when exactly this is posted. And so our first version at Relay is going to be available, and the spirit of Relay is to help you effectively combine automations with AI assistance with human judgment. And for us, I don't think this question of how are AI assistants and people going to work together, this is not something that's going to end this month. This is going to be like an ongoing question that we continue to evolve our answer to in the coming months and years as AI systems become more capable, as people become more comfortable interacting with these assistants. We're all going to be looking for new ways of how can we leverage automation as effectively as possible while still maintaining our unique, like, personal perspective on how a given process should run, or how we want a communication with a client or a customer to work. And so that's both the priority right now, and I think it's going to be the priority for not just us, but many, many companies for a long time into the future to figure out the right blend.
Awesome. Folks out there who are interested in getting in touch and learning more about the work, where can they find you online and social media?
They can find us on Twitter at Relay, also LinkedIn, Relay.app, or feel free to connect with me directly, JE Bank on Twitter and Jacob Bank on LinkedIn.
Jacob, thank you so much for your time. Thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
Thanks so much. Have a good one.
You too.